Hello, today I'm going to read a book that goes along with our clothing study, which we are starting this week. And the book is called Caps for Sale. Let's see what happens. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he wasn't like an ordinary peddler carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First, he had on his own checked cap. Then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so as not to upset his caps. As he went along, he called, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." But nobody wanted any caps that morning. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," he said. And he walked out of town slowly, slowly, so as not to upset his caps. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "It's a nice place for a rest," he thought, and he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were straight. First, his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. They were all there, so he went to sleep. He slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. Oh, do you notice something? What happened? But before standing up, he felt with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. All he felt was his own checked cap. He looked to the right of him, no caps. He looked to the left of him, no caps. He looked to the back of him, no caps. He looked behind the tree, no caps. Then he looked up into the tree, and what do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking his finger at them. "You give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their finger back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss." This made the peddler angry, so he shook both hands at them. "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook both their hands back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss." Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his feet and he said, "You monkeys, you better give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss, tss." By the time the peddler was very, very angry, he stamped both his feet and he shouted, "You monkeys, you must give me back my caps." But the monkey only stamped both their feet back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss." At last, he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap, threw it on the ground, and began to walk away. But then each monkey pulled off his cap, What do you think they did? And all the gray caps and all the brown caps and all the blue caps and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So the peddler picked up his caps and put them on his head. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly he walked back to town calling, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap." That was kind of a silly story, wasn't it? So I want you to think about a few things. I'm just going to ask you a few questions and see if you can answer them. All right, so do you remember what the peddler, the man, was selling? What was he selling? Take a moment and think. What was he selling? He was selling caps, right? And where was the funny place that he liked to store his caps as he was selling them? He liked to store them on his head. Silly, wasn't it? Right, wonderful. And who took his caps? The monkeys took his caps, yes. And how did he get those caps back? Yeah, he threw his cap down and then the monkeys copied him. So, really funny story. Thank you for listening to my story and talking about it with a little bit with me. Bye bye.